So, when it comes to trying to discover ourselves, oftentimes we push our voice of who we want to become and who we are down, and we settle into playing a role of someone we're supposed to be. And I'm going to give you an example that now seems so silly. But when I was a kid, the ideal weight everyone was supposed to be was 120 pounds. And we were like, okay, we all have to be 120 pounds. And whether that was through the media or like, I'm not sure where the message actually came from of why we should be this weight. But, anyways, so as an athlete, I struggled with that a lot because I had more muscle mass and muscle weighs more than fat. So I was sitting there being like, man, like I'm over this. And I was stressing about something on a scale. And later on in my adulthood, I had this conversation a couple of years ago, and it was kind of like, so wait, did that happen to you too? And it was someone in a different town, different city than I was. And everyone's like, yeah, I don't know why, but it was 120 pounds. And that moment really was an impactful moment for me because then I really started to question in our society, how many messages are we told? But who came up with the golden rule of who we're supposed to be? And I really pushed against this idea of being normal because I really don't believe that there is an actual normal. And we're all trying to fight that and become that and be like, oh, yeah, like I fit the normal rules and whatever else, like everyone else is weird over there. But why aren't we sharing our strengths and showing off who we are more? Like when it comes to discovering who you are, what messages do you replay in your head of who you're supposed to be? So if I listened to that when I was young, and I very much appreciate my 18-year-old self because she's a little bit of a rebel and go getter and unstoppable. Um, I would have been stuck living on a farm somewhere, married to some hockey player that probably wasn't that awesome of a partner, and just miserable. But I chose to take a chance and follow my heart. And I imagine if you're joining this course, some part of you is sitting there being like, I know I'm supposed to be more. I know I'm supposed to be different. So I want you to take that moment and I want you to write down. So I want you to brainstorm. So in the center of a piece of paper, write down what the word woman. And I want you to write down around it all of the things that you should and ought to be. So as many as you can come up with. So being a good mother, being a nurturing person, putting other people above ourselves, um, whatever messages come into mind. So skinny, thin, athletic, like every word that comes to mind that you associate with being a woman, and then like any rules about what that's supposed to look like, add that to your sheet. And you get to make this however you want. It's your mind map of how you interact with the world. But, anyways, so I want you to think about that. And then I want you to take something, highlighter, different colored pen, something, and I want you to circle the ones that are actually important to you. And you'd be so surprised how many values you actually want to hold on to. And the other ones are like, why do I care about this? So I'm going to give you an example. With being a woman, and maybe this was just my household, but it was always internalized like women always have to be clean and their house has to be spotless and all of these things. And growing up, that was the standard. And then as an adult, I sat there and I'm like, why do I care so much about getting my laundry folded at the exact right time when no one else is going to see it? Why do I care so much about my entire bathroom being so clean just in case someone came over? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't clean and all of that type of stuff, but like the standards that we hold ourselves to, when we really take a step back, we're like, does this really matter to my day to day and who I want to become and whatever else? So I want to give you the freedom to expand and think about, who am I? And what do I care about? What do I want? What's really actually important to me? And just as you're going through those prompts, just write them all down and figure out who you want to become now. So earlier I had asked you to do the exercise of who you'd become if there was no barriers. Is there any barriers on your sheet that you can just wipe off your sheet and start new? Not have to worry about it as much? Is there any responsibilities that you could shift to someone else? Is there any small things you're going to take off your plate for today to just take the time to just be you? So I'm going to just challenge you to take that time to do that and see what you come up with. You might be quite surprised.